Hey everyone, I'm Ben Eubanks, Chief Research Officer for Lighthouse Research and Advisory, and I'm excited to be here with Logan Kostroun from GoCo. We're going to be talking about some of the ways that they are helping companies get away from kind of boring, antiquated HR software and create a different experience for their people, not just for the purposes of the software, but for the outcomes that it enables for those teams. So, Logan, welcome. Glad to have you.
Absolutely. Nice to meet you, Ben.
Yes, sir. So let's dive into this. You have this unique vantage point where you're talking to leaders like those listening into us right now from across the country on a regular basis. What sort of pain points are you hearing from that audience consistently?
Yeah, surprisingly, across a lot of company sizes and a lot of industries, usually the problems are fairly similar. I would also say it differs whether or not I would say about half our clients are coming from just about no system in place, maybe using their payroll, but not a whole lot of other stuff to help with HR. And then the other big cohort is the group of people who are already on an all-in-one system, but it's just not really working for them. As far as that first group, if they're coming from nothing, I would say really what that looks like is just not enough hands. There's just not enough hours in the day to get to all of the things on their list and really just feel overwhelmed with stuff that, frankly, in the 21st century, nobody should be doing. So, just a lot of that back and forth, things being missed, falling through the cracks. And then for those groups that maybe do have a system in place, I would say there's usually about three things that are not working for them. Either A, the system is just kind of antiquated, I think is the word you used. That's something I think GoCo does a really good job of, is just making things a lot more modern and intuitive. Maybe there's too many workarounds, or perhaps it's the support. I would say probably one of the biggest things is usually not even the system itself; it's the partner that is backing it. Do I have support? Do I feel like
Hmm.
I'm being taken care of? That's a big part for a lot of businesses.
If you don't mind, I'd love to tap on that one just for a moment because I had a chance recently. I was talking to a group of leaders about payroll, and the half of the complaints had to do with support and help and getting a question answered in the moment when they need it, not next week, but I've got to run this payroll this week. I need an answer right now for those sorts of things. How are y'all solving for that piece of it? Because that feels like a big challenge to take care of.
Yep. And I would say probably one of the biggest challenges as far as support goes, most solutions out there, you don't really have that continuity of an ongoing person that knows you, knows your account, knows your people. So the reality is when you reach out, it's like Russian roulette. You don't know who you're going to get paired with. Generally, they're very nice and will say, "Hey, yeah, that's really challenging. Let me get back to you on that." Only problem is in the HR world, we don't have time. That is a luxury we don't have on payroll week.
Yeah.
So what we do at GoCo, we pair every client, no matter how small they are, with a dedicated client success rep. That's someone
Hmm.
that's get to know their business, knows the intricacies of what they deal in with day in and day out, so that when those urgent issues come about, we can instantly jump in, help them with what they're doing. But on the flip side, again, that's really the reactive part of it. I would say what we do also a good job of is being proactive. And what I mean by that is clients do need that on the spot help, but I think it's also just as important to be knowing what is important to them in the next 3, 6 months, year or so, and how do we make the most of this investment they've put in this system and investment of time? How do we make sure they get the most out of it instead of having to search through help articles or videos? We really want to help them be strategic with that.
So, Logan, one of the things you mentioned a minute ago were things get missed, things fall through the cracks. And again, in my own experience as an HR leader, I've been there. We're like, oh no, you have that pit in your stomach. You're like, I forgot to do that thing that had to get done. So, talk about how GoCo helps to solve for that or helps to account for that with these leaders that are trying to get those things done, whether it's workflows, whether it's something else that makes that a little bit easier for them.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I mean, if you think about the reality when you don't have one of these systems in place, it's frankly just way too many steps and way too much for one person or one department to handle. I always kind of make this joke that, it's something as simple as onboarding. This is what it typically looks like. You've got a spreadsheet, perhaps, of all these different line items that need to get checked off. Only problem is they're the only ones with visibility to it. So what are they having to do? You're constantly reaching out to managers, to employees, to other stakeholders, and you're really having to chase everything and be everything to everyone. So what a system like GoCo does really divvies out and essentially it takes a village to do something like onboarding or different processes throughout the year. And it makes it to where every stakeholder gets their part. They have it served up on to them on a silver platter, not having to put in redundant information. And most importantly, all of that information is reportable, auditable, and it just really takes that lift off the HR admin, not having to just put it all on their shoulders.
I love that example. And the onboarding is one I always go to because you've got 15 cooks in the kitchen, and how do we get this recipe done without messing it up? Is the sort of way that I look at that. So that's a great
Yeah.
example there where, yes, so many people are using things like spreadsheets and checklists and well, we can print it off this time, and now it's 7 pages long, and good luck. That's really difficult to make that come off easily. So we talked through some of the pain points. We talked through some of the ways that you're helping us solve this. Now take us to the other side. Talk about some of those companies that you talked about the pain points in the front end and what it looks like after the fact. Once they start getting into using GoCo and start having a different experience, what does that look like? How does it feel? What are the outcomes they point to?
Yeah, the story that popped in my head when you mentioned that. So I signed up a group last year, reached out to someone the other day, how you liking GoCo? And she told me, she said, Logan, beyond just all of the cool tech that we got, really what I got out of GoCo is I don't think I've taken a vacation the last 5 years where I didn't feel stressed that somebody wasn't going to need me, that the ball was not going to get dropped. I had that all on me. So you gave me kind of peace of mind just to be able to delegate and everything would just keep running to where I could come back. So I would say really the benefits, it's just lifting a lot of that weight off of them. I think a lot of times they're also very impressed with the level of support they get. So we talked about that previously, be more proactive as opposed to only reactive. But when they do need help, having someone who knows their team. And then I guess thirdly, some of the benefits, just feature wise, the workflows in GoCo or magic flows, as we're calling them, is really one of the coolest things I've seen from a lot of providers out there, being able to really, the client knows their business better than we do. They can really orchestrate whatever process they want to get the most value out of it.
Yes. Yes. Have some flexibility there is so powerful. And I remember years ago looking at one of our very first HR solutions and like, no, this is it. This is what you get. Like, yeah, but this is how we do it. Well, good luck. Basically
Exactly.
make your process fit this because that's your only choice. And so having that flexibility is so powerful because every single person listening to us talk right now has a little bit of a unique nuance to how they do it, how it's routed, who sees it, who has to touch it, who signs off, like all those little things that may seem like little things are big things in their world because of how it happens, and making it easy on them is so powerful. One of the other things that occurred to me as you were sharing on that, Logan, was we see so much data on HR burnout, and the story about a customer having the peace of mind maybe make that connection for the first time ever, that having the right tools in place can help to take that pressure off, not just physically the task you're completing, but mentally the things that you're trying to juggle up here because you don't have a place to put them. You don't have a place to automate them. You don't have a place to make sure those things are getting accounted for and getting accomplished. But having a solution there takes that off their plate so they can take a deep breath and then focus on those things that
Yeah.
do matter to the business, like retention and culture and the other things that people do get into HR to do and often are too busy to get around to.
That's exactly right. I think so much of the time is just spent in that fight or flight mode, making sure everything gets done. And it's just busy work. Nobody should be doing that kind of mundane work when in reality, the real value that they bring to the business, again, HR, it's the lifeblood of any company. That's the most precious asset they have in the company. It's their people, right?
Mhm.
So the more time we can take away from manual work, filing paperwork, sending emails, and getting them back to actually engaging with employees and maximizing that resource. That's what I love most about my job is freeing them from that sea of paperwork, so to speak.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, tremendous. Thank you so much, Logan, for joining us, for sharing some of these insights and these pieces of perspective, I guess, that everyone else out there doesn't see because they see their own narrow lane, and you're giving us a chance to see across all the different organizations, company sizes, industries that you're supporting and serving over at GoCo. I appreciate you for joining us.
Absolutely, Ben. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir. To everybody else out there, hope you got some good notes, some good ideas from this, some good reminders that the work you're doing is important, it is valuable, but there's probably a better way as well. Thank you so much.